The information presented is for informational purposes only. The opinions expressed are not necessarily the opinions of any Daikin company. This information should not be confused for accounting, legal, medical, or other professional advice. Please seek advice from a qualified professional for any specific questions.
Welcome to the Accelerated HVAC Success. My name is Ben Middleton. I'm the National Sales Training Manager for the Goodman, Amana, and Daikin brands. Today, we're joined here with Bob Halpin. He is the Director of Operations for Daikin Comfort Technologies. Bob, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me back again. This is number 3 for us, I think.
Yeah, and it's great to have you here, and I hear you're turning the tables on me, and you're going to be asking me some questions.
I have a couple questions, and so I had a few of my folks from my team actually went out to the field and participated in those road shows that you're doing. So I think it'd be really great to maybe talk a little bit about what is a road show, what do we cover in those, and what does our dealer customer walk away knowing?
So this is our second time doing a road show. We actually did a road show when we were going from the SEER to SEER 2 and going through that transition. And typically when we have a major industry shift, we want to get out and make sure that we're informing customers. As you know, we've got this major shift right now going to low GWP refrigerants.
That's right.
And that's impacting the industry as a whole. And so we started our road show back in July. So far, we've been to roughly around 40 locations.
Wow.
The goal is to hit 80. And we've trained about 2,000 people so far. We want to be in front of over 4,000 people by the time we're done with this road show. So we got a whole team of people that are going out, and we're just having a lot of fun. So first question everybody asks, why are we making this change?
Right.
And, the simple answer to that is, there's been a lot of research and study that's been done as far as the impact that our industry has on global warming.
Yep.
And the decision was made that we could have a major impact just by reducing the amount of greenhouse impact that our refrigerants have on the environment. And so we're going to a GWP level that is less than 750. What that means is when you drop below that means if you have a 1 pound of CO2 that was going into the Earth's atmosphere, the global warming potential equivalent is if you have 1 pound of that particular gas leak out, it would equal that many pounds of CO2.
Mm-hmm.
So we made the decision to go with R-32. And so we're talking about, what should a contractor be concerned about? There is all kinds of misinformation out there right now.
That's right. And so it's a 4-hour session, as I understand. And how is it broken down? Like, what kind of things are you talking about in there?
So again, like I said, we start off, we talk about why we're doing this.
Yep.
Then we start to transition into what does that mean to me as we switch from going from R410A to R32. And so does it benefit my customer in any way? And so we talk about the fact that it's a single component refrigerant. And so that's a big advantage to consumers moving forward. We talk about the fact that it is lower GWP, but there is this designation that came out. It is an A2L.
That's right.
And so going from an A1, which would be non-toxic,
like a 410A,
non-flammable, 410A is an A1, to an A2L, still non-toxic, so that's good, but it's a 2L, so it is slightly flammable.
That's what L means, right?
Yeah.
It's like low risk, right?
Yeah. So you've got this lower flammability that you look at, and a lot of people are wondering, what does that mean?
Right.
Flammable. Do I really want to be putting this into my customer's home?
Right.
And so we talk about, really just how safe is an A2L versus an A1. And really, there's not a significant difference between an A1 or an A2L. We're not going to an A3. So we're not putting propane in. We're not putting hydrogen in. It's not, it's not acetylene. It's not a really flammable gas. So that would be an A3. And so the designation is A1, A2L, A2, and then A3. And so we're still on that lower flammability rating.
Which is the same class that 454B is in, right? They're both A2Ls.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was the big thing. Going to a low GWP refrigerant meant that we were crossing this barrier going into an A2L.
Yep.
And so we talk about that. We talk about the combustion triangle and really what it takes in order to get. So you have to have a fuel source.
Yep.
And then you have to have an oxygen mixture. And one of the big differences is there's a thing called lower flammability limit.
Mm-hmm.
An A2L has a very high lower flammability limit, which means it's going to be difficult to get it into even in a range where it's going to be combustible.
Right.
And then you have to have a minimum ignition energy. And so when you look at that minimum ignition, and it's very difficult to ignite or light an A2L. And then you have to look at the components. Okay, if I were able to get all those conditions right, then what are the characteristics? And so it has a very slow flame spread.
Sure.
And so it's not going to be like propane where you get, into this very fast flame spread. It's very slow. In fact, you or I could walk out of this room faster than that flame is going to spread.
Sure.
And it has a very low temperature. And so when you take a look at all of those factors, there's over 260 million R-32 systems that are installed globally today.
Right.
And to my knowledge, there's not a single incidence of report of property damage or fatalities associated with R-32.
Is that something you cover in the roadshow where, R-32 is proven, right? I mean,
Yes.
it's been used worldwide, whereas 454, it's kind of just coming off the trucks.
Right. And so that is one thing that when you look at it, when I talk to a lot of contractors, I know even when I was on the contracting side of the business, one of the things you're always very hesitant about is you don't want your customers to be the guinea pig.
Right.
To be the first ones trying out some new technology.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe you have some customers that are excited about it, but for the most part, there's a little bit of apprehension. And so the good news is it's proven. We know it's been around for a long time. It's been around since 2012.
Yeah.
We know that it's in a lot of different countries. There are over 50 different manufacturers utilizing it globally. And so it's a good proven product. The other thing is when Daikin looked at all of the different refrigerants, they wanted something that was easy.
Yeah.
And so
single component for sure, right?
Well, you still hear contractors talking about R-22.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? In fact, when we made the transition from R-22 to 410A, many contractors continued to look for R-22 units. In fact, we even made a dry R-22 unit because contractors knew the benefits of a single component refrigerant versus a blend and putting that in. And so that was a big deal to a lot of contractors. And so just going back to ease of use and utilizing a single component, that's a really big deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you got proven, you've got easy. The next big piece to this was efficient. So Daikin really does not believe that GWP is the last kind of piece of the puzzle here. What they're looking at is this life cycle climate performance, which really takes into account the amount of energy that a system is going to consume over the lifetime that system is installed.
Interesting.
And when you look at the characteristics, R-32 has more capacity than 410A, and it is more efficient in transferring energy than 410A. So you take those two pieces, and you start to understand that I can build a much more efficient system that is going to be able to deliver better performance for the homeowner. And so that's a big piece to it because a majority of our energy is still produced utilizing fossil fuels.
That's right.
And so there is an impact on the environment for that energy piece. And so you got to look at that. And so when we look at all of those different pieces of the puzzle, that's why Daikin chose R-32. And that's what we're talking about in the roadshow. Why did Daikin choose R-32? Why do we believe this is the best way to go forward? And then we get into, okay, so what do I need to change? So big question is, a lot of people what tools do I need?
That's really a minimal requirement, isn't it?
It is. It's very simple. So you probably, if you have digital gauges, your gauges probably already have R-32 built into them.
Right.
I even say, some of the analog gauges, have R32 built into them, but you want to make sure that you're able to read R32.
Sure.
One of the tools we came up with, and this is available at many of the branches today, so you can
It
go
is,
to our
yeah.
branches and you can get them. There is a literature code that's on the back of each of these, so that you can order more of them if you need to order them.
Yep.
But this pressure temperature chart, if you don't have the gauges, you can at least go ahead and you can look
You can
at
compare.
the pressure temperature chart, and you can find out exactly
Sure.
where you need to be at. It's interesting. You'll see R22, 410A, R32, and 454B is all right on this chart.
That's great.
And so we encourage every technician to have it.
Yep. So it should be at every branch's counter.
Mm-hmm.
You just go in and should be on the right-hand side of most branch counters, depending on the orientation of the branch. And there's a little holder there. And just grab one and go, right? Very, very soon, we'll actually have a pocket guide right next to it that'll have a ton of cool information as well that you just have at your fingertips. So very excited about that document.
And then there's a lot of other training that we go through.
Okay.
So people are asking the questions, how do I safely store this? And so do I have to worry about my warehouse, and how much can I put in my warehouse?
Great question.
And so we talk about that. We talk about transportation. How do I transport this? And, it's different from municipality to municipality. And so we have that discussion.
But very similar to 410A transportation requirements,
Yes.
right? I mean, I think the only big limitation is that you can't fly by air, right? Other than that, I think the limitations are very similar to 410A.
What I'm seeing and I'm learning more and more is they do want it stored vertically,
correct.
instead of horizontally. And so that is going to take up more space on the trucks, unfortunately.
And separation from any flammable liquids, right?
Yes.
So that's important as well.
And then the other thing that we talk about is just safe handling.
Mhm.
And so what are some good practices? The big thing I tell everybody, if you do have a major leak within a space, you want to just open up windows and ventilate.
Makes sense.
And it's for a couple minutes.
Sure.
We're not, and that's just to be, that's being safe.
Yeah.
And just making sure that, you're doing the best things that you can do if you do have that particular instance arrive. But there's some other protocols then that we start to get into as far as what are the safety protocols that the furnaces have built into them.
Right.
And so we talk about some of the controls, and you and I think we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But that's what we're covering on the Roadshow. Then we get into some training tools that we have available. So we've partnered up with Interplay Learning Solutions. And so there's some great installation courses to learn how to do the installs with R32. We're going to be working on some courses around our furnace integration kit and making sure people understand how to do that. And then we've partnered up with XOI, and they've actually created a free workflow for every contractor out there that is going to help contractors be able to just follow step by step. How do they install that furnace integration kit and put that in? And so that's available for everybody that's out there. And so at the Roadshow event, we're making sure everybody gets signed up for Interplay, making sure they get signed up for XOI, and then showing them all the tools on the HVAC Learning Campus.
So they get wowed with a ton of great information over the 4 hours, but they also walk away with a resource, right?
Yeah.
That they have places that they can go to if they have additional questions. So that's awesome. So how do our dealers get signed up for this Roadshow?
So they go to HVAClearningcampus.com. And so if you just go to HVAClearningcampus.com, right on that front page, you agree to all the legal terms and conditions. One of the nice things is we took away any need for username or password
That's
to get
great.
in. And so now people can go in, you click on training schedule, you'll see all of our training that's available. If you just type in Roadshow, it's going to bring up all of the Roadshow events we have coming up. And you can scroll down, find an event that's near you, and click on it and register right there on the website.
That's awesome. Yeah, that HVAC Learning Campus is something I would also love to talk about. I actually have a copy of the R32 portal, right, which
Yes.
is obviously very near and dear to my heart. So there's definitely some really, really cool stuff on here, including the podcast. You could grab those straight from that R32 portal, as well as look for that training resource right in there. There's a calendar that shows up, and you can pretty much find out when the roadshow's coming to your town, right? And so I think that's very, very cool. Some of the really interesting things that I like about the HVAC Learning Campus is say that pressure temperature chart that you just brought up.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually right on here, right? And so you can go straight to the HVAC Learning Campus and find that exact same information. Great to have a handheld, right? But if you ever, need to, you're in an attic and you don't have your handheld, you could pull your phone out, go straight to the HVAC Learning Campus, and you've got your resources right there. So I think that's a pretty cool deal there. One of the things that you also have storage and transportation that are right here on the Learning Campus R-32 portal. So I think that's
Yeah.
really cool stuff there. So wholeheartedly recommend that that customers go in and look at that HVAC Learning Campus and see what additional information is in there. One of the things that again is pretty near and dear to my heart is this option right here, which takes you to a matchup flow chart, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so pretty cool that we have just a kind of an at a glance. It doesn't go into the weeds, but for sure, when our customers are in branches, they can ask their customers. Our customers our CSRs and our branches are gonna ask our customers about what environment they're installing these products into, right? But here's a really great way to just do an initial checkup on, well, what I'm trying to do work, right? Because you're always starting, obviously, with an original, residence where more than likely when you go into the residence, there's not going to be any R-32 equipment in there, at least initially, right? And so as they're going into this initial residence to do their installations or to do a, maybe even a trade out with one component of a system or doing a full system installation, you got to know what the environment is, right? And so are they walking into a 410A system, and then what can we do? What can our installers do with that environment? Say if they need to install a full system, I think it's pretty easy. Everything's R-32, so there's probably not a lot of brain power that needs to go in. You're replacing the coil, you're replacing the furnace, and you're replacing the outdoor unit. But when you start getting into components of that, you kind of got to understand a little better about what can you do and what can you not do, right? And I think that's where this flow chart really helps. So if you're starting with a 410A system and you want to replace the outdoor unit, what can and what can you not do, right? And so, for example, obviously for a 410A outdoor unit, you need to have, for a R32 outdoor unit, if you're replacing a 410A outdoor unit with a R32 unit, automatically you got to understand, well, I need a coil that's going to work in that scenario, right? And so I think this flow chart will probably help a lot of folks just understand that bare minimum, you're replacing, an outdoor unit, you're also replacing the coil. That's just going to happen, right? And so I think that flow chart kind of helps with a little bit of that, as well as on the other side, if you're dealing with the furnace, what can and can we not do with the furnace, right? And so, obviously if your an R32 furnace will function in a full system as an R32 furnace, it will also function as a 410A furnace if you're matching it to a 410A coil and to a 410A outdoor unit. It'll function in that.
So, but you're bringing up an interesting thing, because a lot of our viewers may be asking, well, what do you mean an R32 furnace or R410A furnace? There is no refrigerant inside a furnace.
Right. Just how the furnace itself was designed to function with that system.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah.
And so I think that's a big thing. And so when we started going from A1 to A2Ls, one of the things that we started talking about, there's M1, M2, M3 classifications, as far as, and what that means is you've got a volume of refrigerant that's sitting inside of a unit. And we talk about that lower flammability limit. Our goal is to not go above that lower flammability limit.
Makes sense.
So let's say I have a 10 by 10 room. I can let a certain amount of refrigerant go into that 10 by 10 room. And we know R32 is slightly heavier than air, so it's going to go sit down on the bottom and it's going to dissipate across the floor.
Right.
So my whole goal is just, if it dissipates across that floor, I'm not going to have it get above that lower flammability limit. And so there is a threshold. And so one of the things, when we've had R32 out for a while now.
That's right.
The Daikin Atmosphera, I believe, has been out since 2020.
Sure.
And so that's been out for a long, long time. And contractors have been putting it in, but we didn't need any safety protocol.
Right.
Because you had less than 4 pounds of refrigerant in that system.
Makes sense.
Now, as we're going into unitary, now we exceed that 4 pounds of refrigerant in a system. We have to sense if there's a leak. Because if you had all of that refrigerant leak out into a small space, you could potentially get above that lower flammability limit.
Sure, that makes sense.
And so that's what we're talking about. So if I have a leak, what do I want to do? I want to turn the fan on.
Makes sense.
I want to ventilate
Right.
and spread it out through the whole entire home,
Right.
so we never get above that lower flammability limit.
Right.
And so that's what every R-32 coil, you talked about an R-32 coil,
Yes, sir.
has a sensor in it.
Right.
And that sensor is going to plug into the furnace. That's great if I have a furnace that can plug into.
Which are the new furnaces that we're building, right?
Right.
Which are R32 compatible.
But if I have a 410A furnace,
Right.
which means that I can't plug that sensor in, I need to still find some way that I can tell that furnace to turn the blower on.
And we've built a tool that does that, right?
Yeah. And so what is that tool that...
So the furnace integration kit, right? Which obviously, if you're going to use a 410A furnace in an environment where you're going to use a R32 outdoor unit and an R32 compatible coil, that's the tool that helps you do that, right? And so so if you're going to use the existing 410A furnace, just know that going into what you're purchasing from the branch, it will include the furnace integration kit as well as the R32 coil and the outdoor unit. That's a pretty cool thing.
So you got the furnace integration kit. Basically what happens is my thermostat wire is going to go into one side of that integration kit. And then a thermostat wire is going to go out of it and into the furnace board of that existing 410A furnace.
Sure.
And so as long as it's a 24-volt controlled board, that's going to work great. And then my sensor is going to plug into that board. And if it detects a leak, it's going to kill any call for heat or cooling that I have.
Yep.
And it's just going to turn on the fan.
That's awesome.
Ventilate the space.
Yeah, that's terrific. So the other thing that I'm hearing a little bit about, maybe you could help clarify some things about the zoning kit. So there's also a zoning kit component that's needed in certain instances. And what would those instances be?
So I like to call it a zoning accessory kit.
Okay.
Because it's not just zoning, right?
Yeah, it's used for different things. That's right.
I might have several different accessories that I have hooked up
Air
to this particular
quality,
unit.
yeah.
Maybe I have a dehumidifier and I have a UV light and I have an electronic air cleaner. So I've got all of these different accessories. Zoning is also an accessory.
Right.
And so if, again, that sensor detects that there is a leak, we want a couple of things to happen. Number one, if I have zoning going on, I want to open up all the dampers because I'm trying to turn the fan on and disperse the refrigerant.
Makes sense.
So we stay below that lower flammability limit. If I have a electronic air cleaner or I have some other device that could be turning on, I just want to make sure those devices are off while we're ventilating the space so that, it's just minimizing any potential for any sort of accident that we might have.
Makes sense. Very good. Yeah. So that's a pretty cool thing too. Probably not in a whole bunch of cases, in a lot of instances, but definitely it's available. If you have that accessory piece that you're including into what's going on with your trade out or your system, we have that available as well.
So a great question I've been getting at several of the roadshow events that we've been doing is, well, what about communicating systems? So I have a Daikin,
that's a great question.
This old CTK04 that we've been using, or we have a Daikin 1 thermostat, or one of our other communicating controls that we have out there.
Yep.
Can I still use that with a brand new R32 condenser?
That is, and the answer is?
The answer is yes.
Very good.
And so any of our communicating controls, you can continue to use that, I'll do air quotes, that 410A system that we have.
Yep.
And you'll be able to have that R32 system work with the furnace integration kit. So you put that in and it would work.
Yep.
Now, if there's a competitor's product out there that has a communicating control that
We're
we
still
cannot,
figuring that
yeah,
out.
we can't
Yeah,
guarantee that
that's right.
necessary.
That's right.
So we can guarantee if you have a 24 volt controlled system, any of our competitor products, that's going to be fine to be able to utilize and
That's
use.
great. And that's something, again, if they want to utilize the matchup flow chart,
Mm-hmm.
it actually has a section right there on communicating furnaces and obviously with communicating T-stats. So
Yeah.
so very, very good there. No, that's much appreciated. Would like to talk a little bit about our marketing materials that we have in our branches now. And so if our customers haven't been in our branches in a little while, just a couple of weeks ago, we installed a whole bunch of really cool marketing material. So we've got some posters in there. We've got a door cling. So right when you walk into the front of into the front of our buildings, there's a cling on the door that tells you that we're getting and we are R32 ready. QR code right on the cling. It'll take you straight to the R32 portal of the HVAC Learning Campus. And then when you get into the building, you'll probably see a lot of our employees also wearing R32 gear, right? Which has some great information on the back. You usually don't see the backs of our folks, but there's a QR code on that as well. We've got posters. We have that pressure temperature chart that you just brought up, and we have some flyers to hand out. As well as upcoming the pocket guide, and so just a lot of cool information that'll help our customers just learn more, right, and understand where their resources are. We're also educating our CSRs on the product so that they can speak about those matchups and those kinds of things. We actually have, you won't see it, but on our pop-up, on our Mincron screens, whenever R32 product pops up, if there's any kinds of integrations that we need, that'll show up right on the screen to recommend to the customer that they need either a zoning kit or an integration kit. That'll show up as well. So we are preparing our branches as well as educating our folks to help inform our customers and to provide materials for our customers to inform themselves, right? So pretty much everything that's R32 marketing materials, including the receipts that we hand out to our customers, have that QR code on it that goes straight to that R32 portal. And so, obviously, they'll always have an ability to reach out and grab information, either calling the branch or texting the branch or our SMS system, or obviously during the off hours, getting a hold of the HVAC Learning Campus through that portal, through the QR code that we have available pretty much on all of our materials.
Yeah. Doing the roadshow, I've had the privilege to be at many of our branches and see, and so I've seen that you walk right to the front door. And the cool thing is I see many contractors as they're walking in, they're stopping, they're hitting that QR code, getting all of the resources, all the tools that are available.
And then we have these monitors behind our counters, giant big screen monitors that continually cycle at a greater frequency anything R32, right? So there's a couple of R32 videos that show up, as well as there's a sidebar that's a static sidebar that has that QR code that shows up. Again, any information about R32, click on this. And so we want to make the information available. We want our folks to be available so that, obviously our customers feel confident that they can move forward with this stuff. And we've got product coming in. We've got, product that you can match, obviously furnace, coil, outdoor. And so, obviously just getting that stuff available to our customers so that they're informed and then they're ready to start installing these things.
Bob, I mean, we covered a ton of stuff, and
Sure.
we've got a ton of great resources available. Any last thoughts or comments that you have for our guests?
So I would I think we talked about this a little bit before,
Yeah.
but there is I don't want to call it a competition, but there's definitely something that our customers can qualify for, right? For if they meet these different sales requirements. I don't know if you recall what those were.
So there's some training that the contractors are going to go through.
Yeah.
and
So if they
they're gonna-
participate in some of those videos,
they're going to watch a couple of the videos, and then I think they need to get a jug of R32, make sure that they have that on their truck, and then they buy a unit. Then there's some points that are available for them,
Right. Yeah.
and that's through Dealer First.
Correct.
And when they get those points, I mean, there's all kinds of great things that you can buy with those points, right? I mean, I've seen people buy trips with points.
Right.
You can get tickets to sporting events. You can get tents. You can get iPads. Christmas time's coming up. There's all
Sure.
kinds of, I mean, it's really it's a cool catalog. And so again, just an incentive to make sure that people are staying informed. They know all of the facts versus there's so much fiction that is out there right now. And I just want to make sure that our contractors have all of the facts. So when a homeowners may be concerned, they're going to ask questions. I heard there's a change. What's going on?
That's right.
Do I want to try this new refrigerant? And now they can go out there and say, you know what? It's really not a new refrigerant. It's been out since the 60s. It's been installed worldwide, starting in 2012. And actually, it's been here in the United States since 2016. And you know what? R-32, 50% of 410A is R-32.
That's right.
70% of 454B is R-32.
That's right.
So,
and it's a blend, right? Which is a little more complex.
For a long time.
So I guess final thoughts would be that, customers have a question, they can reach out, right? They can reach out by phone, they could reach out by text. The exact same phone number that you would call a branch, that's the text number. So you can text that into a branch. And the next thing that we've actually just started is a mass outbound text messaging program. Now, customers have to opt in because we want to make sure that they don't receive unnecessary texts if they don't want them, right? But if customers text into the branch's phone number the word marketing, it's just a single word, marketing, marketing, they will be enrolled into what's our mass outbound texting system. And that's what we're going to start using to start letting folks know about, what's in our branches, what are some deals that are coming up, what are dealer days, all of those kind of different things that our customers would be interested in learning about their specific branch, right? And so we have different branch groups for texting. And so if you want to text, the branch that you're that you normally visit or that your folks normally visit, text that word marketing to that branch's normal phone number, and you will be enrolled into that mass outbound texting system, and you'll receive tons of more information. But you can also just text us, just an individual one-on-one message, and we'll respond to you within minutes. And so again, we always want to be available for our folks to, obviously not just sell them stuff, but obviously to be available for them, if they have any questions or concerns.
Bob, thank you so much for joining us. I really
Thanks for
appreciate
having
you
me
coming
again.
in. For all of you that are out there, please, if you liked this episode, go ahead, hit that like button. Also, make sure you hit the follow button so that you can be informed of all of our upcoming episodes that we have. Thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Appreciate you.
Bob, thank you so
Thanks
much.
again.